Imagine standing at the edge of a bustling Roman road. To your left is the safety of the shadows, to your right, the terrifying might of the Roman legions. You are running, but you are not a criminal in the modern sense. You haven't killed anyone. You haven't robbed a temple. You have simply decided that your life belongs to you. But in ancient Rome, that decision was a crime. And for a woman, the consequences of getting caught were not just physically brutal, they were designed to dismantle her humanity, piece by piece. While we often hear about the gladiators or the field hands, the story of the female fugitive is one of specific, calculated cruelty. When a woman ran, she wasn't just stealing labor, she was defying the absolute order of the Roman household. And Rome did not tolerate defiance. What happened when the chase ended? What awaited the women dragged back in chains to the domus? Today, we are peeling back the marble facade of the empire to reveal the grit, the iron, and the blood beneath. The crime of self-theft and the bounty on her head. To understand the punishment, you first have to understand the crime. In Roman law, a slave was a res a thing. They were property, no different legally from a plow or a lavish tunic. Therefore, a slave running away was technically committing furtum sui, or theft of self. For a female slave, this was viewed as a particularly heinous financial loss for the master. She represented not just domestic labor, but reproductive capital. If she escaped, the master lost her potential children who would also be his property and any specialized skills she possessed, such as weaving, hairdressing, or cooking. Because the financial stakes were high, the Romans developed a sophisticated industry of recovery. Enter the fugitivarii, professional slave catchers. These were the bounty hunters of the ancient world. They didn't work alone, they had networks of informants in port cities and border towns. Historical records and preserved papyri show that masters would post public descriptions of runaway women, detailing their height, complexion, and distinct scars, often offering massive financial rewards for their return. The moment a woman ran, the entire empire was weaponized against her. The mark of the fugitive, branding and tattooing. Once captured and returned, the first order of business was often permanent identification. The master needed to ensure that if she ran again, everyone would know what she was. This led to one of the most infamous punishments in antiquity, the branding. For a woman, whose value in the Roman household was often tied to her appearance, this was a dual punishment of pain and disfigurement. The Romans would use a hot iron to sear letters directly onto the forehead. The most common mark was the letters FUG, short for fugitiva. In later periods, specifically under the influence of Christianity and Emperor Constantine, facial branding was banned, and metal collars became more common. However, for centuries, a woman walking with FUG burned into her skin was a pariah, instantly recognizable as damaged goods and a rebellious danger to any future buyer. Sometimes, instead of branding, masters used tattooing. They would ink detailed sentences across a woman's face or neck, detailing her crime and the name of her master, effectively turning her skin into a living criminal record. If you visit museums in Rome today, you might see rusted iron bands that look like heavy jewelry. These are not ornaments, they are slave collars, and they represent a lifetime of psychological torture for the runaway. Unlike the brand, which healed into a scar, the collar was a constant, heavy weight. These collars were riveted shut and could not be removed by the slave. Many have been found with inscriptions that chill the blood. For a female slave, wearing this collar was a mark of absolute submission. It made hygiene difficult, sleep uncomfortable, and escape nearly impossible, as the collar made her instantly identifiable to soldiers and the vigiles, city watchmen. It was a heavy, chafing reminder with every breath that she was owned, tracked, and hunted. We often picture Roman slavery happening in sun-drenched courtyards, but for the recaptured fugitive, life moved underground. Wealthy Roman estates, latifundia, and even urban households often had a private prison known as the ergastulum. This was a pit or a windowless cell where rebellious slaves were chained for the night. For a woman who had attempted escape, the ergastulum became her home. She would be chained by the feet, often to the wall or to other slaves, sleeping on dirt floors in unsanitary conditions. The purpose of the ergastulum was to break the spirit. It separated the bad slaves from the compliant ones. A woman confined here was stripped of any status she might have had in the household hierarchy. She was no longer a trusted maid or a nanny, she was an inmate in a private dungeon, released only to perform the hardest labor before being chained up again at sunset. It is a misconception that only male masters were cruel. In fact, Roman literature, such as the satires of Juvenal, suggests that the domina, the mistress of the house, could be even more vicious, particularly to female slaves. If a female slave ran away, the mistress often took it as a personal insult. Upon her return, the punishments were intimate and vindictive. This wasn't just about business, it was about power dynamics. The recaptured woman might be subjected to severe floggings with a flagrum, a whip with metal or bone knots, but the cruelty was often more specific. Ancient sources describe mistresses using heavy mirrors to beat their hairdressers or ordering the removal of hair as a form of humiliation. For a runaway, the mistress might order her to be demoted to the most degrading tasks in the household, such as cleaning the latrines, ensuring the runaway spent her days in filth as a reminder of her place. This is perhaps the darkest reality for the female fugitive. If a master decided that a woman was too rebellious to be kept in the house, or if he simply wanted to extract the maximum value from her before she died, he would sell her to a leno, a pimp. Roman law allowed masters to sell slaves with specific clauses. A master could sell a runaway woman to a brothel, lupaner, with the contract stipulation that she could never be manumitted, freed. This was a life sentence of sexual exploitation. In the brothel, the woman lost even the tiny protections she might have had in a domestic setting. She was considered the lowest of the low, known as famosa, infamous. It was a punishment designed to strip away every shred of dignity, transforming her from a human being into a purely commercial object to be used until she expired. The mill and the mines, the slow death. Not all punishments were sexual or domestic. Rome ran on grain and precious metals, and the machines that processed these resources were fueled by human blood. A strong female fugitive might be sold or transferred to the flour mills, pistrinum. This was considered the ultimate punishment short of death. In the mills, slaves were often blindfolded or harnessed to massive millstones, forced to walk in circles for hours on end to grind grain. It was grueling, backbreaking work usually reserved for donkeys or oxen. The dust in the air destroyed their lungs, and the relentless physical exertion caused their bodies to break down rapidly. It was a slow execution. The woman was effectively worked to death, her life expectancy dropping to mere months or a few years after entering the mill. It was a clear message to other slaves: escape, and you will wish you were dead. While rare for simple flight, if a woman's escape involved theft, violence, or if she was part of a larger conspiracy, she could face the ultimate penalty, damnatio ad bestias or crucifixion. Crucifixion was not just painful, it was a public billboard of state power. It was reserved for those who threatened the social order. A woman nailed to a cross along the Appian Way served as a terrifying deterrent to anyone walking by. Alternatively, damnatio ad bestias involved being thrown to wild animals in the arena. While we associate this with gladiators or Christians, rebellious slaves were the original fodder for these games. It was a theatrical execution where the woman became a prop in a public spectacle, her death serving as entertainment for the mob and a warning to the enslaved population watching from the stands. The brutality of these punishments reveals a terrifying truth about the Roman Empire: its grandeur was maintained through fear. For a woman in chains, the Colosseum wasn't a marvel of architecture, it was a mouth waiting to swallow her. The Pax Romana, Roman peace, existed only for the free. Every brand, every iron collar, and every sentence to the mill was a calculated move to crush the human spirit. Yet, despite these horrors, women still ran. They risked the branding, the brothel, and the cross for a singular, desperate chance at freedom. That courage, in the face of such overwhelming darkness, is the part of history we must remember. What do you think was the most shocking aspect of these Roman laws? Was it the professional hunters or the domestic betrayal? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this deep dive into history fascinating, please hit that like button, it really helps the channel. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss out on the dark secrets of the ancient world. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.